Sam, tell us about the events leading up to the beating. I can't understand what went on here.
Dr. Drew, yeah, prepare to be pissed off the more you see that video. Disgusting. So Aaron Hill, he told police that he was invited to the residence, okay? He drank 2 glasses of whiskey while he was there, and then he laid on the floor. At some point, he went outside. He learned that somebody wanted to fight him, so he went back inside. He was frightened. He refused to leave the house, thinking that he was about to get into a fight, and that's when he was allegedly assaulted.
Karamo, what do we do with this? Are you literally people are so I don't have good language for this. Are they so sick, everything that rhymes with ick that they can't appreciate that people have
dicks.
liabilities and maybe it's not all about us and we don't have to beat people up because they're behaving differently?
Well, you know, you said something about your liability, and the liability lies on these parents. And I've said this once, twice, many times on this show. I am always dumbfounded that the parents are not involved. I tell you, as a father, I do not go to sleep at night without checking my child's social media. Secondly, if my children ever want to go to a party, I am at that party to check out what's going on, especially if I have a child with special needs. Why was I not there to make sure that he was not drinking alcohol and laid out on the ground? Thirdly, the parent who let that party happen at their house and was there, provided the alcohol, these are the people that need to be reprimanded in this situation, because we need to send a clear message to American parents that until you start teaching your children the proper tools to be empathetic and to not do disgusting things like this, we're going to continuously have these horrible children growing up to be horrible adults.
Yeah, and Spirit, I think Karamo has an interesting point here. And not only that, when I was, my kids were teens, I said, look, you're going to press limits and things, but if an adult gives you alcohol or has knowledge of you doing illegal acts, I'm going to show up at the sheriff's and I'm going to have those parents hauled their butts. Good. I'm going to lap my butt off while that happens. Spirit, is that a good idea?
You know, it is. And this story has more questions than answers for me. I mean, I see that Mom put up the whole, you know, justice for Aaron, and we're back to justice and all of these things. But in listening to your producers, the number of times that they attempted to have her come on and explain where she was before all of this, we're not getting that piece of this. And what I will say is this is just one more story of thousands that we see with this same situation happening time and time again. Underage drinking, fighting, and they use the whole situation of autism. I don't want that to be fallen in this conversation. But by the same token, we don't know how high functioning he was. I mean, he's 16 years old at a party without his parents. Did the boy that was fighting him know that he had autism? We don't know the whole story here. There's so many pieces that are missing in this story for me.
My bigger concern here is the videotaping. I mean, the fact this was videotaped. This guy was sick enough.
How many stories have we seen where there are children
and at the same
fighting on videotape? We have websites.
Well, Emily and Spirit, regardless of how many times we've seen this story, it goes back to the parents. Because the reason we're seeing this over and over again is because parents are not stepping up. I work in social services, and the amount of children that I deal with that say to me their parents have no concern with them, their parents are not aware of what they're doing, is because parents have not been taught how to parent properly.
But you know what, Karamo, I will tell you this. If the parent hasn't been taught at a certain point, we have to take onus. Now, yes, these are our children, but our children have to have a plan for themselves, too. If you are 16 years old, you are making the decision whether or not you want to drink. If you are fighting, you are making the decision whether you want to engage in that fight if you are the initiator of that fight.
Well, but think about this. He's 16 years old. He's a kid with he's a different kid, essentially, and he was invited to this party. That's got to feel really good, and you're 16.
We still don't know.
And he's shielding himself. At the end of the day, autistic or not, whether this kid was drinking or not, this kid is on the floor shielding himself while this 18-year-old is beating him up.
And
no
let
excuses.
me say, you guys did mention holding the adults accountable. We are learning the woman who lives at the home where the alleged assault occurred there she is. She has also been arrested. Police say she did know teens were drinking alcohol at the home. And listen, the adults. They're obviously the 18-year-old was the one doing the beating, but the adults take all the liability for what goes on in that house.
But even then, it was a misdemeanor, Dr. Drew, a misdemeanor. So what message are we sending still?
Well, here's the message. Give me the camera for a second. I'll send the message. Because if you, whatever the circumstance, when there's an adverse outcome with a teenager, and to a certain extent with young adults as well, but certainly with teenagers, whenever you measure an adverse outcome, that is to say a death, a beating, an accident, an STD, a pregnancy, an unwanted sexual contact, you always find alcohol and substances, and essentially it's almost always alcohol. So if you don't want to be responsible for one of those things, do not let your kids drink, and don't have kids drinking in your house.
There you go.
Make sense? There you go. We're going to
is.
keep this going back after this.